Oh, did you get a book?
No, I didn't get it, but one of mine.
Okay. And I can order more. Amazon has a few left, okay?
Are your credits from Amazon?
Yeah. Good Amazon. You can get an iBook if you want to. I have a copy of an iBook too. No, yeah. Okay. I just finished printing that. Yeah, I should get it.
I'll be excited.
Go. So where are my copies?
I think you gave them.
I gave you mine. Yeah, okay. Let me have that back. Just go get a couple. Sorry.
How much is the digital version?
I don't remember. $9 probably. That's what I have. Okay, so. This is a very intensive course, okay? So this is going to help each and every one of us defend our faith in a more hostile world, right? I'm going to walk you through some of that real quick. Before we get started, I have a Bible verse I want you to start with. I need a copy of paper. Ready?
But I only work 3 weeks. I don't like to take it. But now I'm feeling like this. I prefer
Can I use your chair right here? So everybody pass this around and take about 2 or 3 pieces of this puzzle, okay? Just take 2 or 3. Don't lose them because we like to put it together someday. As you take it, I want you to look at it and tell me what the puzzle is, what you think it is. Well, that's getting strategic now, right? You can 3 or 4 of them. Take a piece of the puzzle, okay? Okay? Everybody have a piece of the puzzle? So let's pass it around. Somebody pull up a Bible verse. Everybody get their Bibles? First Peter 3:15. One of my favorites. Yep. And read that aloud for us.
But sanctify the Lord God in your hearts, and always be ready to give a defense to everyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you with meekness and fear.
So, can you read that again louder?
But sanctify the Lord God in your hearts, and always be ready to give a defense to everyone who asks you a reason for the hope that is in you, with meekness and fear.
Okay. That verse is saying we give a defense. The word is apologia in the Greek, it means apologetics, which doesn't mean we tell people we're sorry for being a Christian. It means we give a defense of why we believe Christ and the message is true. Probably we live in a society where centuries ago the church became church and state, right? And that was Constantine at about 330 made the church state, right? And then later on, the church became the repository of all knowledge. That was the Dark Ages. So we came out of the Dark Ages. So the church was power at one time, and that didn't work out. The church actually became the only holder of knowledge in books during the Dark Ages, and through about the 15 or 1600s, it was where people went to get knowledge. Right? So we don't go to the church to get knowledge so much anymore. If we want to learn about things, we go to school, university, or YouTube, right? So the church has been separated from things over the centuries, so people watch this going on. So historians look back and they see the church involved in politics. It didn't turn out well. And they were involved in the universities, which is good, but the church decided to take a couple of bad decisions. So when Copernicus, you remember him? Copernicus was the first scientist philosopher. He was a Christian who said everything went around the world, the sun instead of the earth. And about 60 years later, for some reason, the church decided to go against that. Started throwing people in prison for believing that. The church decided that earth was the center of the universe. Everything spun around it. So the church is wrong. They took the wrong stand, and they started. And then Galileo came out about the same time, said the same thing, and the Spanish Inquisition took him over. So you see how the church has begun to be involved in some of the wrong things. And sometimes people over the centuries start looking at the church and saying, it's not a real institution or it's a fake. So as we go into what we call the revolutionary years, Thomas Paine wrote a book called The Age of Reason, which he said there is a God, but this God is no longer associated. He's kind of in the background. That's what we call a theistic God. We're going to get into that later. What has happened over the centuries as the church has been separated from its mission, and people have started to see the church as not relevant. All right? In today's society, what happens whenever you speak about your beliefs to someone in school? Anybody go to public school? Yeah. College? What do people say? I'm a Christian. I believe the Bible. What do they say? They kind of don't want to say anything, right? What do they think? Right? You're a religious nut, right? So what happened over the centuries is, at one point in time, everybody decided that the church was not about knowledge and didn't have how can I put it? Historical knowledge. It was about faith. And anybody who wanted to learn about reason would have to go outside the church. So faith and reason were separated. And then now, we're coming into centuries now where actually you're seeing it even the church has been separated even more, right? Church used to be the center of all love now, right? So now love is defined by what? God defined love in the beginning, didn't he? And then suddenly mankind started redefining everything. So love is defined by popular culture, by Facebook now, I guess, by TV, by Oprah, whoever. So you see all these things happening. You see the church being separated from its original mission, its intent, and all this is a matter of, methodically, the enemy is moving the church into irrelevance. Okay? So now the church is even being separated from charity. It used to be if you wanted charity, or if you gave to the church helped people. Now you can give to all kinds of institutions. There's all kinds of stuff. And now if you go on TV, everybody has a fund, right? Everybody feels good about that. And that's good that they give. But once again, you see the church separated from that. So it's kind of like more and more you feel like we get stuck in the corner over here. And the world looking at us and saying, well, who are you guys? All right? So what this is a great story. This is a great book about bringing faith and reason back together. And, by the way, evolution was a bad thing for the church too, wasn't it? So suddenly God didn't make us, we just happened, right? And he addresses this in the book. So what this book is about, he actually comes out and says there's more scientific fact, more logical reason behind there being a God than there not being a God. And he's exactly right. So if you said there's a God in a public institution, a university, you'd probably be ridiculed, wouldn't you? Because they know God and science don't mix. The problem is God and science, God created math. God created the world. God created these things. Geometry, math, and science are just ways for men to describe what God did. So what you're seeing is more and more people are learning how to explain their faith. But we've been pretty much stuck in the church. So somebody said, tell me why you think that God exists. What would you say? Why does God exist? Because we believe, right? Well, if I'm an atheist, I'm going, so? You got to give me more than that. All right? And so that's why 1 Peter says, give a apologia, the defense of what you believe. You saw Paul doing that a lot. He went to Athens and he talked to the Athenians on their level, didn't he? He knew their culture and he spoke directly to them. So one of the things we have to do is learn how to speak directly to our culture, defend our faith. And actually the title of the book is about I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. It actually requires more faith to believe there's not a God because of the evidence. And he's going to show you how to prove that. Y'all interested in that? Okay, this is going to be a tough study. This is a college level course. I've taken some not as hard as this, so I'm not going to this is challenging. So I'm going to go through the introduction with you today. This is your book, so let me walk you through this, okay? So if you open up, we're just going to walk through this and go right past this and how to use the book, okay? So what's the first step in how to use any type of book in which God relieves you, right? This is not the Bible, but it's got a lot of good stuff in there. So what's your first step? Huh? We pray. So somebody want to offer a prayer for us as we go through. Have God help us because this is going to be difficult for your brain. Ask God to give you the ability to understand this material and be able to use it later, okay? So let's just pray for that. Okay?
Heavenly Father, we just give you thanks, Lord, for allowing us to be here. Father, we just ask you to bless Ismael home, Father, for opening up to have this lesson here today. Father, we know that this book is difficult, Father, but we just ask you, Lord, in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Father, be with us as we study this word, Father, this book, I'm sorry. We just ask you, Lord, that be with us, be with Steve as he brings the message. Father, open our ears and our hearts to your word. For all these things we ask in your Son's name, amen.
Amen. So I want to walk you through this. How do you use this book? This has all kinds of good information on here. The purpose of the study is to help you understand and remember the critical points about Christianity, what we believe, okay? And the other worldviews presented in the book. So what is a worldview? What's a worldview? Is atheism a worldview? Yeah, there is no God. Is the evolution a worldview? It kind of goes with atheism, right? So we have a worldview. They have a worldview. Everybody looks at the world differently, right? So it says, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. If you're going to be always ready to give an answer for the hope you have, it'd be smart for you to understand and memorize the arguments and evidence presented in this book. To know what you believe and why you believe. Most people's worldview is made up. They don't know where it comes from. It comes from their experience. It comes from the people that hang around. It comes from the TV you watch. So you start developing your view of the world based on your experience and all that. Now, some of it may be valid. Some of it may be not. How do you know if your worldview is correct? Huh? So we as Christians have a worldview, but it's pretty safe inside the church because we all believe, right? If anybody else coming in the joint, then the joint doesn't believe that, do they? And we don't know how to tell them other than just believe. And belief is important. So we'll get to that in a minute, but there is always, everything you do takes belief. Even the scientists have to believe. There's no such thing as probably 100% perfect evidence in science. So science only knows up to a certain percent, and they have to believe. All right? So everything takes belief. For example, even buying a car, it takes belief, right? Who's bought a car lately? Okay? So, if you're a logical person, you probably check the mileage, you probably check the ratings on the car, you talked to the person, you looked at the motor, maybe you took it to the mechanic, you did everything you can, you get as much knowledge you could about that car, right? But there's never 100%, you're never 100% sure that that car is going to run next week, are you? But you do try to get enough knowledge to get you there, don't you? And that's what the book is about. We have enough knowledge to get us all the way almost to proving God exists, see? And yet God leaves that little part in there for us to have faith, doesn't he? So we have a lot of evidence. That's what we're going to learn. Each chapter, the curriculum presented in the supplemental, it has questions, activities. So I got a book, and I have some pens and pencils. If everybody doesn't have a pencil, I'm going to start filling in the introduction for you and with you. Now, between now and the next lesson, you're going to need to read chapters 1 and 2. And if you want to read the introduction, you go back. 1 and 2. We'll meet in 2 weeks. I'll be gone next week, so that'll give you 2 weeks to study 2 chapters. That's a lot of work, okay? So, you'll have to get busy on it. So you're just going to have important people in here. There's history in here, how to use this book. It has icons here. This section takes you deeper into specific issues covered in each chapter, unpacking the topics. This look means don't just look, take the author's word for it. Check out information presented in the book yourself. The section helps guide you with other knowledge. So he will actually say, don't take my word for this. Go look for some of it yourself. Because he wants people to learn how to think. And it says T-O-O-K. So this section summarizes material and helps you apply the concepts, okay? There's a DVD, and I'll show you some video next week. Chapter test. Oh, we're going to have chapter test. Oh, I hate that. Oh, right? Back to school. So the very first page says what? Box top to the puzzle of life, right? It says in the book, in the introduction, let me borrow this real quick. He gives an example which I like a lot. It's about the puzzle. I'll read it to you just shortly. That's a forward. We need the introduction, sorry. Finding the box top to the puzzle of life, okay? And he talks about a university professor he had who was looking at the Old Testament, who didn't believe in God. And he said, he decided to get into it, right? And look at it. He goes to this university. And the professor took a very skeptical view about who wrote the first 5 books. And he pretty much was teaching the Bible, but he disclaimed everything about it, which is kind of interesting to me, but not abnormal. And so he gives this analogy at the end of it, and he says, despite the denials streaming from our universities, we believe that there is a way to discover unity in diversity. Okay, the word university comes from the word unity and diversity. That's an interesting concept, isn't it? And if ever discover such unity, it would be like seeing the box top of a puzzle, just as the pieces were difficult to put together without the picture of the box top. So, his thing is life is like putting together those puzzles without a box top. Now, how many of you think, how can you tell me what's this puzzle about?
You can't.
It's going to take a lot of faith. Anybody got an opinion?
A garden,
Got a garden? Anybody else?
like a field.
Field? See, so you get pieces of it, don't you? Isn't that what life is? You get pieces of life, but nobody has quite the whole picture on the outside, right? And so what if I told you it was a battleship? Would you believe me?
No.
Why?
I don't see a piece.
You would want to see more pieces of the puzzle, wouldn't you?
No.
Right? So that's what God gives us. He gives us enough of the puzzle that we can have enough pieces of that puzzle we can believe what it is. But what if somebody told you it's a battleship and you believe that in your whole life, right? then one day somebody showed you the box top and it wasn't a battleship, right? Yeah. So that's what he's talking about here. We got to get enough pieces in front of people. They can figure out what that puzzle. By the way, God's Bible, the book of God, is the box top to life. It has every piece of it on there. The pieces that people are getting out there have missing pieces and chunks or little pieces, and they're forming opinions and worldviews based on, well, sky. I believe everybody's going to heaven because God is love. That's right. Is that true? No. Why do you know? How do you know that's true or not?
The Bible tells us.
Huh?
The Bible, His Word tells us.
Well, is the Bible true?
Yes.
Who says?
Yeah,
God.
Believe.
but you have to believe that the Bible's true.
No, what I heard there's some wrong things in there.
We need to talk.
We need to talk. Well, maybe you should show me, right? Do you have enough knowledge about how the Bible's written and the books put together to explain to somebody that? Right? Wow. See there? So a lot of people out there, they got their idea what this is my religion, it's mine. It's good for me. It's good for you, right? You can believe what you believe. Fine for you, fine for me. We all believe we're all going to get there because I got my blue piece of puzzle, right? What happens when I get to heaven? Well, I mean, when I die. Right? So that's what this book is about. It'll give you the box top, and it'll give you all the pieces of the puzzle to put that together. So I have the picture of the box top, but not with me. Guess what it is? Oh, I already asked you that. It's a castle. It's a castle.
I knew that.
I knew that. Wait just a minute. I'll go get that.
This is Cinderella's castle.
So here's what we call evidence, right? So what he's talking about in the book is it takes more evidence to believe that it's, not a castle. So what if I showed you that and said that the pieces came out of that, right? You still may not believe me though, right? You may want to actually put that piece of the puzzle together, make sure I'm not lying, right? Well, that's called faith and reason and evidence come together, doesn't it? Oh, you got two to match. How did you do that? He's on his way, right? Well, there's a lot of religions have answers. They've got pieces of the box top and they tell people. Can they be right and us at the same time? Can we be right about Jesus and the Muslims be right too? No, see, that's a problem. Somebody has to be right and wrong, and that's hard for people to accept in our society because that means somebody has to. That's not politically correct saying somebody's wrong, right? We don't like to say you're wrong in school. Oh, that's okay, it's close enough, right? There's your box top. If you put those back in there, I doubt you'll ever be able to put that together again. You just donated the puzzle. Okay, so let me open up the book to you. Get back into it. Introduction, okay? After this chapter, you should know like the 5 most consequential questions in life and explain why these are so important. So if you took a philosophy class at any university, you're going to learn these 5. These are not Bible language. This is what philosophers say for years. Discuss why it's important that God exists, okay? It's important to know why God exists. Why is it important that God exists? We'll find that one out in a minute. Describe the 3 reasons why the world claims that religion cannot answer life's big question. People say religion can't answer these questions, so here's 3 reasons why. Understand and explain the purpose of the 12 points that show Christianity is true. That's a lot of stuff. But don't anybody freak out on me running out the door. You're going to have to study this and use it, okay? Understand, explain, identify the biggest stumbling block that can keep a person from discovering the truth about the big questions of life. So what's the biggest stumbling block that keeps people from discovering, okay? Explain what it means to be open-minded versus empty-minded. That's a tricky one, isn't it? I like that. So these are 3 different terms. I'm going to give them to you so you can write them down, okay? I have the answers in my head, but also have a handy-dandy answer sheet. Theism. Anybody heard of theism before? Theism believes that there is a God, but he's disconnected from the world. So I'll read you the definition here. A theist is someone who believes in a personal God who created and sustains the universe, but is not physically a part of the universe. So a theist, there's two definitions actually of theist. Theist believes in one God. So who are the theist religions out there who believe in one God?
Islam,
Islam, correct?
Judaism,
Judaism?
Christianity.
Christianity. There's only three that I know of. Now later on, theists in Jefferson's time decided that yes, God created us, but he was disconnected from life. In other words, he started it like a big machine, and he went and took a vacation. That's what they believed later on. But basically, for the class of theists, is one that believes in one God. Who knows what a pantheist is? A pantheist.
Many gods.
He believes in many gods. Actually, not really. That's a polytheist.
Yeah.
Pantheist actually believes. Anybody watch Star Wars?
Oh yeah.
God is in everything.
The Force.
The Force.
The Force be with you.
Pantheism.
Luke, he's in there. He's in everything. God is in everything.
It's in the rock.
Pantheism. Yeah, God's in that chair. Right? He's everywhere.
Mormons.
Yeah. So the last one is atheist. It's pretty simple. They don't believe in a God. There's a fourth one in here he hasn't addressed quite yet called a agnostic. And we'll jump into that in a minute, okay? All right. So I like that. Hook. Here's a hook. What's the meaning of life? The ultimate purpose of our existence, or is life just a glorified Monopoly game in which the object is get as much stuff as you can, because when the game is over, you got to put all the pieces back in the box, right? I like that. One preacher put it, one day you're going to die, then your family's going to dress you up, put you in a box, lower you in a hole, throw dirt in your face, and go back to church and eat potato salad. I mean, ice cream either way, right? Richard Dawkins is a well-known atheist. He quotes him a lot in this book, and he says that there's no meaning to life without God. That's a pretty big statement for an atheist to make, but he's true. An atheist is not dumb. They know logic, because without God there is no purpose. Yeah.
Brother, can you clarify the difference between monotheism and theism?
Monotheism believes is more of is a one God, more like Judaism. Theism is the classical understanding is the theist. Jefferson was a theist. Believed that God created the world, and it's kind of like it was like one created like a big machine, and he turned the crank on it and he let it run, and he backed away from it. He's disconnected to the world, and he's not a personal God, by the way. So that is a classical definition of theism from the Age of Reason. Okay. Yeah. They're going to mention a guy in here in a minute, C.S. Lewis. He was an atheist. He didn't believe in a God, and then he actually became a theist. He started, that was his first step. He became a theist. He actually, he said, there is a God. And then he became a Christian when he had a personal relationship with Christ. So he went from atheist to theist. Okay, there's a God, but I'm not connected, don't know. But when he actually got further into it, when he surrendered his life to Christ, he became a Christian. He went from atheist, theist to Christian. C.S. Lewis, one of the best apologists of the 20th century. All right. So,
God also was an atheist, was it?
Yeah.
Did have to prove disprove Christianity.
Josh McDowell.
That
Yeah, he
was
went.
Sean McDowell's dad.
Yeah, his son.
Sean.
Yeah. Based on the information you've read so far, how would you define the meaning of life? How would you understand the meaning of life? Jim, you want to read them back to us in a minute? Oh, sponsors will vary. Okay, never mind. What would you say is the meaning of life?
I think it would depend if your point of view. If your point of view is atheism, then the meaning of life is carpe diem. Do whatever I want now. If the meaning, if I see there is a God, there's an eternity, then everything will be turned towards eternity and not towards now.
Yeah. What you believe in God, whether you're atheist, not believing in God or God, defines everything you do. It really does. So what you believe in God or of God will define everything you do eventually. Yeah, that's an important concept, okay? Without God, does life have any ultimate meaning?
No.
Not really. Why?
it goes back to what I've always and I've asked a few people. I mean, if there's no such thing as God, why are we all working so hard? I mean, to get stuff, but then we can't take it.
Yeah.
You can leave to your family, but then they're gonna go one day too. So what's the whole point of working so hard?
So if there's no God, then it's all about me.
Yeah.
And I can even be a very nice philanthropist, and give my life to going over different countries and healing people and their sickness and stuff. But isn't that still about what I want to do and what makes me feel good? Yeah, it could be a little bit of love, care, but still, at the end, I'm gone, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference? The difference I made in this world, I leave behind, right? And the best thing you can be as an atheist is remembered. That's it. That's it. Or further than that, I'm sorry, you say something? Yeah.
Oh, I found out that when I was stationed in Thailand, how life is not really valued.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could easily get a contract for $5. You know, find somebody you like, hey, here's $5.
Take care of that person.
Take care of that person.
Yeah.
You know, and I find out that, you know, it just kind of, it's like, if there's no God,
Yeah.
then life really has no value.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're here, you die,
Come on.
and you don't worry about it, you don't care. Like, they were interviewing some kids in San Antonio that were gang members,
Yeah.
you know. And so, you know, they asked them, you know, well, what happens if a friend kills? Well, I go kill the other person,
Right.
you know. And you could see that, like, there was no value to life.
Well, without God, there's really no value to it. I mean, we'll put some value into it, but we have to leave it behind. Our values are going to stay. So my value is different than yours too, by the way. I might value certain kinds of people more than others, right? But that's my opinion, and my opinion rules. Yeah.
But the big point is whatever your opinion is about life, you know, but there's no value to life. You know, I saw because people were, you know, life had no value.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I had a missionary tell me, he said one day he'd walk along and saw this dog laying by the street, and his car just ran over the dog and broke his leg. People just laughing at the dog. Even dogs don't have value. They're laughing at the dog with a broken leg. Thinking it's funny. But this is a country that has much value for life, even at that level. That's horrible to us, isn't it? So how do we explore, so why is it important that we have a view of God in eternity? I like what he says right here. Why? Because you're going to be dead a lot longer you're going to be alive. Right? I hope to live 80, 90 years. I don't know. Maybe 150. I don't know. But I doubt it. But even that's not a short time, right? So how do we explore the question of eternity? Well, it begins with the question of truth. Okay? This is huge. We have to understand we are living in a country, in a society, in a popular culture that doesn't believe in absolute truth, does it? Yeah, that started like 2 centuries ago. Some say there's no absolute truth. Everything is just a matter of opinion, right? As we will see in the next lesson, the assertion that there's no absolute truth logically contradicts itself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now we're going to get really good. It's going to be fun here in a little bit. After all, if there's no truth, then not even atheism can be true. That's right. Yeah. Wow. So, wow, that people who are trying to be true can't be true if there's no truth. That's right. Yeah. Well, it just turns itself, it just turns all over itself. That's true. Yeah. Okay. This whole book begins with the basic question whether truth exists, and using logic and evidence arrives at the conclusion that the Bible is true. That's our box top. All right? And this line of reasoning is correct, and be sure to examine it yourself. He'll always tell you this, but this book is written not only to Christians, it's written to atheists who are searching. I like that. Just don't take the author's word for it. Then the truth is that you'll live for eternity if you believe that. This gives everything you do today an eternal meaning. There can be nothing more important than that. So, because we have eternity, everything we do today has tremendous meaning. Everything people we love today has tremendous meaning. We love them with the love of God. That's eternal. That's coming into us. So here's the 5 most consequential questions in life. I've actually, anybody had a philosophy course in school? You'll probably come up against this if you haven't. So get used to this one, you might as well learn it now, okay? Think about, I got this. Unfortunately, it's important, so I must be in the Oh yeah, what are the 5 questions? Y'all don't know that yet, right? Answer, man.
Where did we come from?
Where do we come from? That's called origin.
Yeah.
Secondly,
Where are we going?
where are we going? That's the end of it.
What's the meaning of
Why
life?
are we here?
There you go.
Who are we?
Who are we?
Who are we? Why are we here?
Yeah.
How
Where do
should
we come from? Who are we? In
Why
other
are
words,
we here?
are we in just accidents? Why are we here? That's our purpose in life. What's your purpose?
Yeah.
Right? How shall we live? In other words, that's a question of morality. So, is there a right and wrong? That goes to right and wrong. And then last, where are we going? So, where do we come from? Were we an accident? Man. Who are we? Well, what's our identity as people, right? There's people who believe now that a true naturalist or evolutionist who believe in natural, not natural selection, but it's natural theology. I think that there's no really difference between you and that bird out there. They're both equal lives. So you're no more important than that bird. So who you are comes from God. Why are we here? What's our purpose? Yeah. So state the 3 reasons why God exists. Okay. Here's reason number 1. If God exists, 1, there is ultimate meaning and purpose in life. Okay. If God does not exist, there is none. That's huge. Okay. So number 2, if there's a right way and a wrong way to live. If God exists, then there's meaning in life, and there's also a right and wrong way to live. There's morality. Right? And then the third thing is the choices we make not only affect us now, but affect us for eternity. So, the 3 reasons it's important is it gives us meaning today. It tells us how to live our lives. And it also affects what we do today affects eternity. That's what you heard every Sunday probably, right? All right. So, turn where you look here right here on page 12. So I like this right here. Remember Carl Sagan? He's a big astronomer. He's an atheist. He goes to billions and billions of stars. He starts the show right there, right? I like this. He said, born in 1934, he was a well-known astronomer, cosmologist. By the time he died in 1996, he had published more than 600 scientific papers, but he was best known for writing best-selling books about science that are appearing on a popular television show expounding the wonders of the universe. Okay, sounds good so far. As a child, he grew up in a Jewish home. He was inquisitive, although his mother believed in God and was active in the synagogue. She taught him to be skeptical, to question and analyze the world around him. His father, on the other hand, was a quiet man and instilled in his son a sense of wonder, encouraged him to explore and discover things. Young Carl enjoyed reading science fiction and spent much time as he could at the library, museums, trying to figure out how the world worked. He's looking at that box stop, that puzzle. He attended the University of Chicago, right? He lectured at Harvard. He took a position professor at Cornell. Very intelligent guy, okay? He worked with NASA. I'm going to try to give you the fast one, okay? He wrote several books called Cosmos. There's another guy, there's a guy actually, I can't remember his name, but he's taken over from Carl Sagan. He's actually came here to Austin and spoke at the Long Center recently. Where was that?
Hopkins?
No, not him. So his shows were successes. He believed in the notion of God as an oversized white male with flowing beard who sits in the sky and tallies the fall of every sparrow was ludicrous. He thought that it was ludicrous, sorry. Instead, he subscribed to the idea of God as the set of physical laws that govern the universe. He thought God was the physical laws that govern the universe. Sagan claimed to be an agnostic, saying that atheists have to know more than I know. An atheist is someone who knows that there is no God. By some definitions, atheism is very stupid. Yet He implied atheism by declaring that the cosmos is all there is, or ever was, or ever will be. Okay? So, what made him know that? How could you know something like that? How could you know that the universe is all there ever is, ever was, and will be? That's not even scientifically possible to even see that. Yeah, he's a scientist whose scientific law determined that this demands that you get evidence, observable evidence. And here's a scientist throwing something out there, and everybody's going, proof, right? The cosmos is everything, okay? One of his famous quotes was, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, okay? But he never could give us the evidence for that. He just pointed to the sky. He could not do that, right? Why? It's one thing to pose, it's important that God exists. Yeah, it's one thing to pose questions and state your own opinions. It's another thing entirely to answer them with verifiable truth. Where'd you go find the answers to life's most important questions? On what sources do people often rely on as authoritative, right? It's one of the key topics, okay? So, talking about the facts in this chapter, here's a story of C.S. Lewis I told you about earlier. He became a Christian. He actually hung with the guys who wrote the what's the books?
Narnia?
The Narnia books. Yeah. That was just three. There's three guys. He was one of them. Two of his friends were Christian, and they wrote the
America 17.
yeah, all those books. Yeah, I forgot them all. Yeah. And so he wrote those. But he later became a Christian. Okay. All right. Throughout this study, I'm on page 16. This empirical forensic. That's the word. Has been empirical. That's historical and forensic is what we use in CSI, Hawaii, whatever, right? Forensic. That's investigating. And philosophical, thank you. Evidence will be used to show that Christianity is the most reasonable worldview, the one that requires the least amount of faith, actually. Isn't that weird? We've all been taught our whole lives it takes a lot of faith to be a Christian, right? It actually takes less faith to be a Christian with the evidence that we have. Have you ever thought about that? That's what these guys, he's going to prove in this book. I've read most of it. So here's the three common reasons the world gives its claim that religion does not hold the answers to life. Okay, this is in your book. I'll read it to you. Number one, it's unreasonable to believe that one religion could be exclusively true, since that would mean millions of people will be going to hell. Right? That's a tough one. Also, those who think they have the truth will be intolerant of others. No. Sound familiar? No. So anybody who says there's only one God, only one way to God, to Jesus Christ, is basically saying all these people go to hell, right? That better be true, because that's pretty big. And the other thing they say is that people who say that are intolerant. You ever been called intolerant? Yeah. Second thing is, some pieces of life defy explanation. They don't appear to fit any religious box talk, like the existence of evil. So, one of the reasons that people don't believe there's a God is that of evil. Why would God allow that young man to go in and shoot those 9 people in that church in a Bible study? God's so great, why would he do that? Why would he allow anything you say? 9/11, right? Why did God? He could have stopped that. So what kind of God would not stop that, right? That's the question of evil. So that's the second reason people. So the first one is that people don't believe it's possible that one religion holds all the answers, but that's going to condemn the rest. Right? Second is the fact that they don't, the fact of evil. Just people can't get past that. Thirdly is because only science yields truth. Any box talk based on religion can't be legitimately proven. Alright? Science deals in matter of fact, while religion should stay in the realm of faith. So they're basically saying that box talk we're trying to describe, that's their realm. We're not supposed to tell people about life. They're supposed to define where we came from, our meaning here, where we're going, but they can't. But they tell us they can. So there's your 3 reasons, okay? So, number 7. Using the painter painting anthology, which is in the book. You haven't had time to read it. It applies to God and creation. How would you describe the following people believe about God's world? Okay, I'm going to give you this right here. So the theist believes God is like a painter, and his creation is like the painting. God made the painting, and his attributes are expressed in it, but God is not the painting. That is the theist Christian worldview, actually, right? We believe that God made the world, and it's there, but he's not the world. That's huge. Because popular culture tells us now it's a mixture of everything is in one deal, one circle. God is in that circle. God's both creator and he's the world. There's no differentiation between God and the world. And if there's no differentiation between God and the world, there's no differentiation between guy and girl, really. Or guy and animal. There's no differentiation, really. Sex, right? No differentiation between guys and girls. It's opinion now, right? So only science yields that truth. So that's the reason that people do that, okay? Pantheist believes that God is the painting. Right? His attributes are the grass, the sky, the tree, this book, you and me. God's just flowing between us. He's all in us at all times.
The force.
Yeah, the force. Anybody watch Oprah?
Oh, yeah.
You'll get plenty of that if you watch her, right?
New Age.
New Age. She is a blend of New Age and it's not pantheism, but it's paganism. But paganism believes in the worship in the world. The ground that you walk on. It comes from the old, where you worship the ground to get the crops and the gods, and it's a blend of that. And so what is coming to our country over the years is pantheism from the East, from India and those areas, and then materialism here, and it comes into, okay, we made this soup now, and it's a weird combination of just, because one circle of life. We're all in here. All the answers are in here. God's not outside that circle. He is in here with us. Therefore, you and I are God and can be God. There you go. But if God is not the holy other, and he's inside, oh, then we get to be God. Nice, not for us. Okay. 3 kinds of objections that cause people to doubt Christianity can be true. So here's 3. So as we go through the book, 17. I'm sorry. I forgot. I lost my page. Okay.
16.
Thank you. Page 16. 3 types of objections that cause people to doubt Christianity can be true. There's intellectual objections. These can include evil, scientific, like we just talked about before, and fact. Proofs versus fact, right? So people believe that it's intellectually not possible that there be a God. They just don't believe it's possible. Secondly, emotional objection, right? Things like exclusivity. You know, all these people going to hell. That's not right. In fact, I don't like the idea of hell. I'm not going to believe in hell, for instance, right? That whole idea, it's emotionally objectionable to think that way, isn't it, to us? And then the last one I think is most important. It's called volitional. That is the will. And that means basically you can show people everything and prove to them almost 90% there's a God maybe, and they still won't believe. Why? Because they just don't want to believe. Because once you believe in God, you're accountable to that God. People don't like accountability, do they? So once I believe, so they may actually believe there's a God, but they're not going to give in to him, right? Yeah. So they're there. Okay. So that is, okay. The 12 points of Christianity, that Christianity is true. Here goes the 12 points. Number 1, truth about reality is knowable. That sounds like a big bunch of philosophy, but it's true. Truth about reality is knowable, so we can know the reality of God is true. Okay. The opposite of true is false. Now that's kind of weird, but it doesn't sound. But what that basically says, the opposite of true is false. So if I believe that Jesus is only a prophet, right, and somebody else says that he's the Son of God, true, you got true and false. One's true and one's false. The opposite of true is false. Okay?
Absolutely.
The theistic God exists, evidenced by, okay, there's a cosmological argument, and it's called a theological argument, and the anthropic principle. These are all big words, we'll get into later, and the moral argument. So basically what that means is cosmological argument is about the universe, the beginning of the universe. Anybody heard of the Big Bang Theory?
Yeah.
A lot of people believe that's God. Now, we're looking at the book, and if you really think about it, if the universe in time started like that, how did that happen? Somebody had to start it. Right? That's a cosmological evidence, and there's more evidence for that. And actually, a lot of astronomers or scientists believe that. Well, actually, they know that now. It's proven that the universe started like that. And why did they say in the Bible when God spoke? Yeah. Now, they're going to say billions and billions. I'll let them have that, but they're still saying that it started. It just didn't happen. All right? The theological argument basically says you walk along, you find a watch on the beach. That watch didn't build itself. It was made by somebody intelligent, because the whole world is based on decay. Right?
That's right.
So everything in the world, second law of thermodynamics, says things go from complexity to simplicity. It doesn't go from simple cells and up into us. It doesn't happen in physics, okay? And a good example of that is, if you have anything that's iron, what happens to it if it lays outside long enough? It rusts and decays and falls apart, right? It doesn't get shinier. It doesn't create its own little watch. So that's the theological, that means design theory. The anthropic principle is this. Basically, scientists now look at the universe, and the rate of expansion basically is, I don't remember, 10 times 100 to the 2600 time speed. Now, the idea is, in fact, if it was like half of this slower, then it would implode. So the rate of expansion in the universe, it has to be at a very specific speed for it to exist. The world has to be in the exact tilt to get the temperature just right. If it was off a little bit, we would all burn up.
Or freeze.
Yeah. And it basically is saying the entire world and universe is designed for human life.
Okay.
And that's provable. And scientists, this is huge. That's that one. And the moral argument, basically, we'll get into that in a minute, is basically that since we have a sense of morals, there must be an outside third objective moral. So it had to come from somewhere.
External source.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll get into that in a minute. So, that's the moral argument, okay? All right, now, where are we up to? If God exists, then miracles are possible, right? There you go. It's true. Miracles are used to confirm the message from God. It's true. Well, the New Testament is historically reliable evidence by early testimony, eyewitness testimony, authentic testimony, eyewitnesses who were not deceived. Do you realize that there's more literary historical evidence for the Bible and the message than there is for the Roman Empire?
Mm-hmm.
There's more textual criticism. That really means that they look at the evidence when it was written, how far after the event occurred, and how many is out there and provable. There's up to 25,000 manuscripts for the Bible, and they all begin within 100 years after the Bible was written. But what we know about the Roman Empire is like less than 100 or 200, something like that. And it actually, it was all written about 1,000 years after it fell. So we have tons of evidence, tons of good manuscripts. The Bible is true. Well,
Yeah, they made a statement at camp
Yeah.
that there is a mile-high evidence for the Bible versus so many feet or whatever for any other historical.
Yeah, and yet people, they say the Bible's not true. And you know why they do that? they don't really know what they're saying. They're just repeating what somebody else said.
That's right.
And they're repeating what somebody said on TV. And they're repeating somebody who thought they were smart, and it's like, it becomes true. You say it enough, it becomes truth, is what they say, right? It's not. Let's see, the New Testament says Jesus claimed to be God. Well, that's a big one. So if the Bible's true, right, and God does miracles, well, there it's lining up. Jesus' claim to be God was miraculously confirmed by his fulfillment of prophecy, his sinless life and miraculous deeds, his prediction and accomplishments of the resurrection. Therefore, Jesus is God. So what he's doing is he's building forensic evidence. Basically, if you were in a court of law, you would start building up what happened, what did you see, what did you see here, what's the outcome, and at the end of the day, the jury has to determine is this true or not, right? So what he's doing is the New Testament claims to be God. Whatever Jesus teaches is true. Jesus taught the Bible is the Word of God, by the way. So here's a line of logic, not just faith. This is logic. It basically says, if you line all this stuff up, it's true. And last, therefore, if it's true that the Bible is the Word of God, and anything opposed to it is false. Wow, that's a big statement. In this society now, that's offensive. Yeah. Because we all, opinion drives truth, right? All right. So, in their discussion of the 12 points, do the authors expect you just to take the word that these points are true? Does he expect you, the authors, these 12 points? No, he does not. He wants you to look into it yourself, right? And he wants you to understand where the evidence comes from. It's not like any Bible lesson you ever had, right? We all read it, and we believe it, and I get that. But a lot of the stuff we hear, we don't understand where it came from. We have no idea. So this is really good foundational stuff, okay? Why do the authors begin the line of reasoning about proving that truth exists and is knowable? Why do they start talking about truth exists and it's knowable?
Because, if it's not known, then how do you know that it's true?
Well, in our culture today, what do people think about truth?
It's relative.
Yeah, you take somebody in class and you state a very strong opinion about something, what happens to you? People want to shoot you down.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you can believe that, but I don't have to. You know,
Yeah.
That's your truth. My truth is different.
Yeah, so if I stood up in class today and had very good evidence that there's no such, and I'm going to get into this global warming, and I had 16 piles of evidence, and I said, you know what, global warming is not true, and here's why, here's why, here's why, here's why. What would people do?
I said you're
Fanatic.
yeah.
You're out of touch. See, they're not looking at the evidence. What are they looking at? Popular opinion. Right? So that's what we're up against. So the evidence is really important, okay? So why should Christians live their lives based on truth and back up your reasons with Scripture? Why should, biblically speaking in the church right now, let's talk about church. Why should Christians live their life based on truth? Why should we do that?
It's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah. What else? Why should we live our lives based on truth? God's word's the truth, we live on God's truth, right?
Truth is different than opinion.
Yeah. It is. Opinion is kind of like, yeah.
Everybody has one.
Everybody has one or more, right? Yeah. 1 Peter 3:15 says what? Remember?
I used to have it memorized. Oh, well, I mean, you have to be able to defend it, but not in a, you know, like box somebody in the head. You couldn't do it with bigness, you know.
It said, set your lives apart for Christ, right?
Yeah.
Set your lives apart. And be ready to give an answer or defense to the hope that is within you, but with gentleness, meekness, yeah. So we have a great responsibility. We have a lot of truth here. We have a lot of evidence here. The jury's on our side, basically, if you did it. So we can't run out there and just beat people up with this, can we? But we do have to be able to stand our ground in a way that we're very firm about it. No, I don't believe that. Why? Well, okay, because the Bible is true. Because here's the way I always tell people. I said, well, you've got 3729, you have 1,400, 2,400 years of books written by about 39 different authors. I used to have this down. About 40 different authors, and written in 3 different languages, and they all have pretty much the same message. And it's, that is impossible.
Yeah.
You can't even get a gossip thing started in 10 minutes and come up with the same question. So how in the world can you come up with 2,400 years of people from different cultures, 3 different languages, all coming up with a consistent message from the beginning to end is love, redemption, creation, Christ? You know? How do you get that? That is not in the human mind. Couldn't have put it. So it would be easier for me to say that one person wrote the Bible and made it consistent
Yeah.
than it would be 39 or 40 authors did, right? It's impossible. And that's the Bible. That's what people tell me. Really? Yeah. So there you go. Now, thinking about what you learned, right? So is it arrogant to say the Bible is true?
No.
No, it's not. Really not. It's just fact. Because you have the evidence behind that, okay? So here's something we didn't cover. Explain the difference between proving a proposition and persuading someone to accept a proposition. Why is the evidence not always enough to persuade somebody, okay? We have to go back and catch that one later. That's a really tough question. I'll leave it. Y'all look that one up in the book later, okay? All right? So here's the book answer, okay? It's the difference between proving a proposition and persuading. While it's relatively simple to intellectually prove that a proposition is true, it's much harder to persuade someone to accept a proposition and the impact on their life. Right? So, while it's relatively simple to intellectually prove that a proposition is true, for instance, that a baby is life in the mother's womb, it's pretty easy to prove that, isn't it? It's much harder to persuade somebody to accept it if it impacts his or her life. Correct? Yeah. That's very true. Belief requires consent, not only the mind but the will. So we can prove a lot of things about babies from conception. We can prove that. But if you're not willing to accept that, because your will, it's not just that. That's the difference. Trying to persuade somebody is different. You can explain to me all day long, but persuading them to move sides, right? We'll see a lot of that this year. We call the presidential election, right? A lot of persuasion is going to be going on, right? Yeah. You're going to have to slip through and see what's true and what's false, right? That's what all the people do, okay? So open-mindedness is a popular sentiment in today's culture, but it can be easily an excuse for empty-mindedness. So remember he talked about an agnostic. So an agnostic is someone who basically says, well, I don't believe there's a God. I'm not an atheist. I just don't know. I don't believe. I don't know.
Like neutral.
Neutral. They play as neutral, right?
Unsure.
Yeah. So in the book he makes a really great comment. He says, there's enough, if you show them enough evidence, they're being empty-headed. They're not. They really are. That there's enough evidence to prove this, then they should at least say, I don't believe it or not.
Yeah.
But to sit there and see, to get all that evidence. So an agnostic is a lot of times described as empty-headed. Yeah. All right. Kind of a weird term to use on there, right?
Take a stand.
Huh? Yep. So you can tell. Now wait a minute. This is just the introduction. Y'all think, wow, I got into quite a deal, didn't I? You did. Okay. So next week we're going to start on Can We Handle the Truth? Remember the show?
2 weeks from now.
2 weeks. Excuse me. 2 weeks. Remember the movie? What was it? Jack Nicholson was in there. Tom Cruise. It was The Trial. Oh my goodness. He jumps up. You can't handle the truth, right? Remember? Remember that? I can't remember the movie. I remember the line. Yeah. So next week we're going to study that. So before you read the chapter, read chapter 1 of I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. Now go slow. Don't hurt yourself. There's some pretty tough reading in here. Okay? It is good stuff. Okay? But don't hurt yourself. I got it on iBooks and I get to highlight it, and so I get to pick it up anywhere. You can pick it up on iBooks. You have 2 chapters, and what you're going to read is, he's going to start with the idea that there is truth, and you can know it, and you can prove it. We live in a world that thinks there is no such thing as absolute truth. He's going to take that and philosophically turn that upside down. It's called the Roadrunner principle. You'll love it. It's
But
easy.
you know, the sad part about our society, if even though you may present the truth and they can see the truth,
Yeah,
they refuse to accept it.
that's the volitional part. That's right.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
You know, they're serving and they just, you know, I don't care, you know, I still refuse to believe it, you know? And it's kind of sad to run into people like that.
So, who's got an open Bible and I need to go to the phone? Who's got a Bible? A real one. A real one. What's that like? Oh my goodness. It's all lined up the same. Oh wow. So one of my favorite verses in the Bible is John chapter 5, I believe it is, 39. Let's take 5:39. You got it underlined too. Right over. Okay. So Jesus is talking to the Pharisees, right? And these guys were smart, they were intellectual, right? And they knew what he was telling them. He says, you do read the Holy Writings. You do think that life that lasts forever. You think that you have life that lasts forever just because you read them. Okay? So that's intellectual thought. He's telling you intellectually know what it says. Right? They do tell of me. But verse 40 says, but you do not want to come to me. He's basically saying you don't want to believe in me, right? So that you may have life. So you mentally get it, guys. You're just not turning your will over to me. Pharisees, 2,000 years ago. Smart guys. They got it. They knew who he was claiming to be. But he was saying, you read it, and you understand it because you want eternal life. Intellectually, you're there, but you're just not volitionally giving it to me. You're not believing in me. So what they do? They killed him. Right? Now, their will said, I'm not only believing you, we're going to go after you. And they did, didn't they?
So how come today?
But you know what? That was God's plan, wasn't it? They thought they were all part of the big plan, right? Okay. So, do you feel challenged so far? Y'all want to stay all night and do the whole book? I don't think so.
No, I said yes.
Oh, we got pizza.
So give me your thoughts. What do you think? Does it sound challenging enough to go home and try to whip this out? Yeah.
It's a good blood pressure.
Yeah. So what I'm really most concerned about is our young people. Because you guys are entering the schools where it's very hostile to you.
Yes.
And I'm in a job place now that laws protect me from sharing my faith in certain positions, okay? But I do it by, somebody asked me, I'll tell them. Somebody asked me, I'll tell them. All right? That's my theory. And I live the life out. People know who I am. There's no mistake. But you don't know in an environment where your professors and your school teachers, you can face pretty good persecution. And they're going to put doubts in your head. They're going to put doubts. They already have, probably. So what you need to know going in, I wish I had this before I went to school. It would save me a lot of time.
Oh, yeah.
So what this will do, this will prove to you how to handle these arguments. And if anything, you may not say a word, you can just sit there and know that you know. One of the worst things is to sit there and not know or be in doubt. So once that doubt hits and that starts coming at you.
I know when you ask them questions and ask them to,
Yeah.
Like for example, a few weeks ago when I was coming back from our church with Vegas, one of the fellows I was working with, on the way back, he was spouting on about how he believes that and this is a sad part because his father was a preacher, but he does not believe that. He believes that we're put here by aliens, and that the moon is not it's an artificial hollow ball that was left by the aliens. And I asked him, where did you get it from? He says, well, he can't remember the author or the name of the book, but it was one of the science fiction books. And I said, well, how do you know that what he wrote there is true? it might just be a work of fiction.
Well, see, that's interesting you say that, because that is true. People pretty much know intellectually that evolution is not true. It's just not a good theory. It's not even good science. But people have been defending for years. So what they're saying now is that they're actually saying that life on Earth didn't start with God. Since they're still not giving it to God, they're saying aliens came and planted it here. I'm a big sci-fi guy. Movie Prometheus starts off with an alien guy.
Yeah.
He starts off and he dissolves.
Yeah.
It takes you.
Yeah.
This guy, he believes that the movie 2001: Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everything he believes is based on that movie.
Yeah.
I said, how do you know that? I mean, that's just a work of fiction.
Yeah,
He believes it.
there's another one called, not the Red Planet, there's something to Mars.
Oh,
And at the end of the movie, they find this big building on there. They go inside it, and this alien sitting there just spreading out.
Yeah.
See little fingers, the world over here, the seeds are going everywhere. Yeah. Okay, so who made the alien?
Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, the problem with the science is having a hard time with the facts. That sounds weird, but science is having a hard time with the facts. And it's not because they don't have it here, it's because they're volitionally not able to agree. That's like, it's kind of hard being wrong your whole life and being standing up for something, and then you can't, to say you're wrong hurts. But there's enough evidence, so that's what he's saying. You know, your professors, it takes more faith for them to be an atheist than it does to be a Christian. Yeah. So, one of the things you got to learn in this course, is, especially young guys, how to ask questions back.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. In fact, if you look at Jesus, most of the time when he was approached by people, he asked questions back.
yeah.
That's right.
So, should we pay taxes? He goes, "Well, give me a coin." Whose Caesar's on there? And then they had to answer, Caesar's. Okay, give it to Caesar what's Caesar's, right? Brilliant, right? But if he just answered it, you pay, Caesar, he'd been accused by the Jews, right?
That's right.
He said, don't pay, he'd been accused by the Romans. He goes, okay, who's face on there? I like that, right? Right. Who we cast the first stone?
That was a tough one.
And the young ruler comes up and says, good teacher, he goes, why do you call me good? He always responded. He wanted to know what people thought. He brought that out in them. So one of the most powerful things you can do is be founded in the knowledge and then respond with the right question. If you ask the right question back, they're going to be stumped. Yeah. So yeah. So he says there's no such thing as absolute truth. And you know how you say, you go back to that, you go, is that truth? See? He said, really? Is that true? And they're going to go, oh, well, wait a minute.
What? If they don't start to think, then they'll say, yes. Then they just contradicted themselves.
Yes, he just comes, yeah. Okay, so that's the kind of stuff this guy's an apologist, right? So he works at the university level. There's other people out there defending the faith real well. I think Christians need to know why they believe what they believe. You don't change your belief during this course, you just get greater foundation of why you believe it. It gives you a greater foundation. Okay?